I was really surprised on Monday with basically Tyson's kid return to WWE's Monday Night Raw. Basically, it wasn't the fact that they brought him back up, and it's not even the fact that he was on the show because, of course, during the NXT run that he's been in for I can't remember when he made his TNA debut, when he started having the feud against Adrian Neville and Sami Zayn, which basically evolved into him, main eventing the pay-per-view in a singles match, and then of course that would revolve into the four-way that we saw on the last show, and then he of course got on a singles show, he got his last chance at the NXT Championship. So now it seems that his run in NXT is finally done, and now he'll rejoin the roster. During this time, we saw him on main event lose matches. We saw him on Superstars lose matches. But this is the real time he's really got his promotion. He's really got his call back to the major leagues, and he has a match against Jack Swagger. Jack Swagger is one of my favorite wrestlers. Jack Swagger is one of my guys, and people have been listening to me talk about Jack Swagger in videos for 2010, and that might come as a surprise to people. Jack Swagger should have lost that match. If people want to take NXT seriously, if they want to take when guys go down there to be a big deal, and I've seen, Brodus Clay go down there and have a match against Adrian Neville to put him over. I've seen, Cesaro went down there and really put Sami Zayn's name out there on the page. We've seen Rob Van Dam go down there against Adrian Neville. Every once in a while, a name will pop up on an NXT show to sort of give them a little bit of a rub. Maybe that guy's one of your favorite wrestlers. You don't watch NXT normally, but you're going to flip the channel over, or you're going to flip on the WWE Network, and you're going to watch the show because that guy's there and that might sound like an interest to you. RVD did that for me. RVD is not one of my favorite guys, but the way they hyped up Adrian Neville against Rob Van Dam, I said this is the match that is probably going to be an awesome match. I want to be there. So I made sure that night on the live stream, not going on to the on-demand, which you're able to watch at any time regardless, I wanted to make sure that I was live tweeting about that match because I knew it was going to be great. And I thought it was stupid that I think off the top of my head, Rob Van Dam had to win because of disqualification, because I think that was some sort of an outside interference. If you're going down there, it should have been some sort of a win to make Adrian Neville look like a champ, so that way you're taking the guy seriously. And I know it's Rob Van Dam, but at that point, on that last run he was there, Rob Van Dam wasn't freaking Rob Van Dam. He just was the name that was on the show that, everybody, hear his freaking entrance music come and give the pop to him. He didn't. The last two runs of Rob Van Dam honestly haven't been that great. I loved his debut, not even his debut, his vignette. That play that said that he would be in the Money in the Bank pay-per-view last year. I remember that more than anything else. Maybe the build to thinking that how is he going to debut? Is he going to be a babyface? Is he going to be a Paul Heyman guy? And then basically he had the awesome ladder match, and then next thing you know, and he's got Ricardo Rodriguez as his manager, and he's having World Heavyweight Championship matches against Alberto Del Rio, and matches that don't really have any build, and everybody's waiting for Ricardo to turn on Rob Van Dam and rejoin Alberto Del Rio, and it never happens. But to me, honestly, with Tyson Kidd, him going down to NXT wasn't only supposed to be able to have some good matches and have a guy out there. I think he was sort of supposed to sort of rehabilitate the career of Tyson Kidd, to where basically when Triple H was talking about those four guys that were in that match, and they said when Tyson's finally able to get his call back up, he's going to be one of those main players that's able to go into the main event scene. And I've always liked Tyson Kidd. He was really good with the Hart Dynasty, and that sort of broke up a little bit too soon. D.H. Smith, he sort of got left out in the cold with nothing to do. Tyson became the singles wrestler. I think the biggest sort of match he's ever had in my mind is when he was in the Money in the Bank, and there was a lot of people on YouTube at that point that were picking Tyson Kidd as sort of like an outcast to win that match, because they thought maybe it might be the really big start of something that he's always been a guy who's had fans. He's never really got the push behind it. I can't even really think of a singles match on pay-per-view or even on television that he's ever won that really give him something. But Triple H always talked about this guy when he was in NXT like he was worth $1 million, and you put him back on the main roster. I've heard from people that he won on main events. I can't confirm or deny. In the rematch against Jack Swagger, And some people are saying this isn't really about Tyson Kidd and all, but it's more about the sort of build of the Tyson Kidd versus Natalia feud that's going to go along with their sort of marriage problems on Total Divas. And to me, that's just complete and utter bullshit. You know, they're going to hold Divas down because they want things to go along with the Total Divas program and say that they can never be the Divas champion and Tyson can never have a push, then they just need to get rid of that show because it just, it shows you that there's characters out there that you don't even really need to get behind because they're never really going anywhere. On the same show where they promote Natalia versus Summer Rae because they had the fight out in the middle of the field where Rosa Mendes had the breakdown inside of the car, you have the Bella twins making up because Brie has been bitchy and Nikki calms her down and basically they hug and they make up at the end of the show and they say we're sisters. But at the same point, the Bellas are having one of the biggest feuds in WWE at this point. So it's like, if this has to keep up with what's going on Total Divas, so you're basically 3 months in the past, why isn't the whole WWE revolving around Total Divas, keeping it in check with what was happening 3 months ago? If the Bellas are friends 3 months ago and they hate each other now, why does Summer Rae and Natalia still have a problem, which is probably going to be worked out within the next 2 weeks on Total Divas? Why do they have to have the problem this night? It's sort of like they're using everything to sort of say, watch Total Divas, because it's this sort of pop culture hit. And that's sort of one of the reasons why I faded out on Total Divas. For 2 seasons, that was one of my favorite shows that was on television. And honestly, both of those years, things faded out. I think on both shows, I didn't watch the last 3 episodes of both seasons. And that wasn't because a little bit of it is because I was busy, but if I was really that busy, I could have caught up with it, but I just faded out. And then season 2 started up, and they had the big promotion behind it, so I jumped on board and I rode that, and to the point they just sort of bored me a little bit. But Tyson Kidd needs to be a big deal in WWE. It's gonna help all these guys. There's tons of guys hanging around on the WWE roster down there at the bottom. Maybe Heath Slater. Heath Slater can go down to NXT, work for a good 3-4 month program, and then be brought back up and into a spot that really means something. Heath Slater was awesome with the Nexus. He had a really good tag team with Justin Gabriel. Justin Gabriel's another great name to sit down there, to sort of hype up his. And Justin Gabriel would have awesome matches with Adrian Neville off the top of my head. That would be something that I would really go out of my way to see. I love Justin Gabriel. I loved Heath Slater when they were in the Nexus. Of course, Heath Slater, from there, once the Nexus breaks up and the core breaks up, he doesn't really have anything going on. He had that awesome set of feuds for the 1000th Raw where he was getting beat up by the Legends week after week, and then that faded out into nothing, where basically out of the middle of nowhere comes the one-man band, and then just out of the middle of nowhere again, they release the freaking team and leave him on the roster with sort of just nothing going on. I mean, he got the big win on Monday Night Raw, I think 2 weeks in a row, and then that ended, and now nothing's really going on. Justin Gabriel, I don't think has been any side of a push since 2011. 2 guys that could get sent down to NXT and then sort of get brought back up after a series of matches and showing you that they mean something. I mean, NXT isn't just really to develop the talent that's coming up. It can be also used to develop the talent that you have now. I mean, a lot of, Major League Baseball players don't get sent down to the minors, but there are, guys that, have been in a slump, get sent down to the minors. They start seeing some meatballs. They start cranking some balls out of the park. They get brought back up and their head's in the right place and they start hitting the ball again.